In 1792, an Irishman got lost in the woods. As he wandered through that winter day on the southern shore of Lake Superior, an Ojibwe boy found him. The boy, Weyishki, brought John Johnston home. As Weyishki's family tended to the Irishman's frozen feet, they learned John's story, and he learned a little Ojibwe. It was a passage in the North American history of mixing blood, begun so long ago when the fur trade started drawing Europeans to Indian lodges. Johnston, new to the trade, had been abandoned by his French-Canadian and Native American partners. He chose to winter in a spot where no traders came because no Indians lived in that famously haunted place. Ignorant of such details, Johnston, his French and native paddlers knew, would fail as a trader and would likely freeze and starve on the Lake Superior shore. They cut their losses, got back into their canoes, and paddled away. The Ojibwe band who found Johnston was led by Wabajig, or White Fisher, whose daughter was Ojagash-ko-dawekwe, or Green Prairie Woman. As can happen with lonely men lost in the woods, John Johnston fell in love with Green Prairie Woman, and they would spend a lifetime together in what became the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The events that brought them to this fortunate meeting had been unfolding over more than a century. Founded in war, the Hudson's Bay Company. The Hudson's Bay Company, an English corporation created through royal charter, began operations in 1670 during a war between Ojagash-ko-dawekwe's ancestors and their enemies, the Iroquois. The decades-long conflict spread from New England and Upper Canada south to the Appalachian backcountry. French, English, and Native men died in raids, and their children were snatched from their homes. As families mourned dead fathers and stolen children, they turned to European traders for weapons and ammunition to take revenge. Trading arms for furs brought opportunity to some Dutch, French, and English merchants, but it made life more dangerous for everyone. By the end of the first century of European investment in North America, the hopeful vision of easy profits and overflowing royal coffers had been ruined by war between European nations and with Indians. To save their North American project, European monarchs demanded new strategies from their colonial governors. For example, in 1676, a new English royal governor, Edmund Andros, arrived with orders to stop the wars spreading across the region. Ending war with New England native nations and with France required Andros to approach Iroquois military leaders and ask for help. As the power brokers in the region, the Iroquois now added the English to their covenant chain, a legal agreement binding Iroquois and their chosen allies as partners in war. An alliance with the English gave the Iroquois military support and better weapons in their attacks on Algonquian nations, but it also brought war into more backcountry communities. Raiding and captivity, now undertaken with guns provided by the English, meant that captives included French, Dutch, and English children living in the midst of a native world. In 1690, the New York town of Schenectady, from an Iroquois word meaning beyond the pines, suffered a raid that would be remembered for generations because so many children were lost. Besieged by continuous war, the entire community huddled in a makeshift fort. On a cold February night, a force of 200 Iroquois and French fighters attacked the fort. 60 people, men, women, and children, were instantly murdered. 27 children were taken captive. So swift and expert was the attack that only 2 Iroquois lost their lives. 5 captives were eventually redeemed when their families paid a ransom for their return. The rest, after being dragged through the snow, tied to horses, and left terrified and hungry for weeks, arrived in a Mohawk town north of Montreal. Those who survived, now clothed and fed by Mohawk families, began new lives. Kind treatment and renaming ceremonies made English and French children into beloved members of the Mohawk Nation. Some Native people avoided recurring war by reminding their neighbors of old kin networks and trade relationships. Traditional techniques like pipe ceremonies and wampum exchanges could allow peaceful trade even among enemies. In the Ohio River Valley, apple orchards and cornfields surrounded villages of Miamis, Senecas, Shawnees, and Delawares who integrated French and Spanish traders into their worlds. Far to the west, Lakotas, Dakotas, Omahas, and Mandans developed a new trade centered on horses, corn, and bison robes.